Hey, what I'm going to go over is the Paranormal 250C Disassembly. Um, One, so you know how to take it apart so you can do basic repairs like replace the screen. That's very easy on a DNA based mod. And also there is a design issue, I feel, with the Paranormal. And I know with the Paranormal, uh, all the revisions of it, I don't know about the Centaurus. Um, haven't bought one to tear apart, but from some things I've seen and read, I think it probably has the same problem. I could never actually recommend one of these to anyone just because of it. I think it's a safety hazard. Um, but I'll show you how to mitigate that, and also if you drop it, you crack the screen, you'll be able to screen. You can actually replace the board. Overall, I mean, except for that issue, it's actually a great mod. It's comfortable, it's got some heft to it, but let's go and get started. Go and get the batteries out, put them over here. So I'm going to close that for now because it's easier if you have the battery cover on still. To get these screws out, and these are just Torx screws, T5s. While I'm doing this, I do recommend quality tools when dealing with tiny screws, tiny hex, little Torx. For your larger stuff, yeah, go to Lowe's. It's not a just grab or Home Depot and just grab their store brand. It's not a big deal. But for these, it's very easy to strip them out if you have low quality tools. So undid the 3 Torx from the 510. We'll just leave that as for now. Then these are just a couple Phillips that hold the battery door on. You want to apply a little pressure right here just to keep it closed. And then that'll slide out. Your battery door. And then I can find my little screwdriver here. Yeah, especially these double lot Phillips, just very easy to strip them out. So spend $20 or $30 on a good screwdriver set, and you will save yourself at least that much in aggravation. So, and then a third screw right here. This one's silver. So, after we have those 3 screws out, you can just slides right off. Shouldn't really take much force, should just pop right off. Next, we got a couple hex. So you're gonna run the whole gamut of screws. It doesn't have any flatheads, so thank goodness for that. And I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if I can get it up there. Yeah, but this looks kind of messed up. I actually used a cheap hex on it and had to get fancy with some CA glue to de-strip it. All right. After that, so we've removed these 2 screws. We've taken the screws out of that, removed the bottom. You can just get up there and you can use a little flathead if you need to, although after you spent that much on a nice set of miniature screwdrivers, you probably don't want to be using them as a pry bar. But when you do that, your buttons, as you can see here, are going to start wanting to fall out. So just kind of pop that and get ready to catch them. So our 3 function buttons and our fire button. then the side over here. And this should just lift right up. Now, I've taken this apart a number of times. It's kind of my, what I use to just mess with things. So it's seen a little bit of damage on the inside just from me doing that. But hopefully I can get a good look in here. So if you look right here, you can see it should be able to be a little bit different right there. That's actually where I filled it in with some insulator. That area is, this area right here is normally open. And on this one, underneath it was just a giant blob of solder. Now if you look at the bottom of our 510, it fits in this circle right here. So the side of the 510 is going to be about here, so right above this, and it's actually right above that blob of solder. At the same time, and I kind of got some insulator over it, so hopefully you can see. Well, I just get underneath. But right here, if I didn't have the insulator, it was also sloppy solder and it was bare. What would happen is you'd put a longer 510 on, an ammeter with longer 510 on it. It would push that down, and it caused a contact between here and the blob of solder. Sorry, I'm not used to doing this on a camera. And the blob of solder here. And this is coming directly off the battery. Obviously, this is your ground. So I've effectively turned it into a series mech as soon as that happened. Device didn't need to be on, just had to have batteries in, screwed it in, and lights up the atomizer. And if you're unlucky and you have a mesh in there, you're going to be replacing the mesh because it's going to just burn it out very fast. Might not notice a problem, might not have any atomizers. I have another one, and its wire was insulated all underneath, but the way they designed this, there's a lot of things they could have done. Obviously, I just put some insulator in there and cleaned up the solder a little bit before I did that. But they could have designed this differently so that no matter how much this traveled, no matter how much bare wire was coming out, that it wouldn't have completed the connection that way. It's very poor design on their part. And I saw reports that with the 75C version of this did it, so they haven't learned their lesson. I don't know how frequent it is, but it's one of those things that you're asking for trouble. Also, so I got this off. So here's our DNA screen, and if you look, there's no glass or anything there protecting the screen. Nothing. So anything hits the front of this, it's gonna hit that screen there. I think $15. They're not horribly expensive, but just a little piece of plexiglass or something inside there. Give it some extra protection. You know, I could be nitpicky, being too picky there, but it kind of bothered me. So let's say you have broken your screen. So we have 2 screws here. So you can see 1, 2. So I'll just take those apart, take those off. Incidentally, I have a system in my head where I put the screws, so I remember which screw to put back where. It's a good idea if you're not used to doing this. Get a paper plate, put some masking tape on it, write down where each screw came from. So you undo those 2 screws, and that right there just kind of pops up a little bit. Won't take any force at all. It's really not held there by anything. And this lip here was underneath that. So I'll get a little closer. So you can see that lip was just underneath there. So it just pops right off. Now don't just yank this, because you are connected by a cable there. Easiest thing to do is very carefully, if you turn it over like that, you'll see that little square there. You can just get something, just kind of push a little bit, and the screen will pop. Then it will just feed out of there, and this will come up. So now your DNA screen, and they mangled this when they put it in. I could see that, and there you're probably not going to be able to see it because I have very bad lighting. Yeah, you're not going to be able to, but I can see it. So, and Evolve has instructions on this also, but you have, it's called a zero insertion force socket. So it's got a little lever right here, and I'm just going to use some tweezers, and I lift that up, and then the screen pops out. So now I can take my new DNA screen, I put it in there, and then usually using some tweezers, I'll kind of put it in there all the way. If you've ever put a new sound card or video card in your computer, it's just as easy as that. And then push that down and it latches. Then feed it up through here. And this is technically, I think, double-sided sticky tape. It's not really going to hold anything, doesn't need to. This part of the case keeps everything from flying out, so it's just to make it easier while assembly. So that pushes down there. Now Evolve will let you know you only get so many bends on these, so try to just kind of try to bend it about the same way you saw it when you took it out. And then we get that. I really want to catch this, so that kind of goes under there, and it's a little annoying, but it's not too bad. And there we go. And we'll just see, it's going to want to keep springing up, but it's not big. It's not going anywhere. And then put these 2 little screws in. And when you put them in, it's not a contest to see how tight it is. You just kind of snug them up. So I just use my thumb and my index finger on the thinner part of the screwdriver. There we are. This is the fun part. I will say, before I put that on, I do like the little rubber things they put on here. Kind of protect the buttons on the board. Also, I didn't take this front part off, but the board, you can see it's the way it's mounted in. If you ever have to replace this board, it's going to be a headache. I would not want to, and I'm going to have to replace the board on this at some point because I had to fix another problem and I did a very poor job of it. And that wasn't a problem with Evolve or Lost Vape. It was actually one of my own making. So place the buttons in there, and then what you want to do is, if I can get this, I usually do it this way. You kind of want to get that in there like that, and then just kind of rock it back. So it'd be kind of like that, and you'll see that the USB isn't quite lined up. So then I just push. So I'm pushing right here, and it'll latch in. And then we'll leave the 510 for last. So let's put this on. One screw. So if you notice, I backed out and backed in. It felt like it was getting ready to cross thread. So and remember, these little screws are not meant to be fastened super tight. So just snug them up. Kind of try to remember what the feeling was when you were undoing them, and go 90% of that when screwing them back in. All right. Before I forget, well, do these ones again. Okay, so let's see if, hopefully you can see it, but it has a little spring right here. And that will feed into this right there. So we just push that in there. And then close, then push it back. So it's latch, and it'll be one to pop up a little bit, but that's okay. So I'll push it down, put that screw in, and these are special screws that the threads don't go all the way up, so they're hinge pins with some screw threading. There we are, and this. So I can see screw hole there, so I know this needs to line up with that. So you can just kind of feel free to manhandle it a little bit, take out a little bit of aggression, not too much, but if you want to remind it that you're boss, that's fine. Help get it in there. So push the 510 down. That. So the type insulator used, you can buy it in any big box stores, just some liquid electrical tape. And I just, after I had it part, I essentially just kept painting it on until there was another wall in there. On another one, I 3D printed a little plate that I put in, but this worked fine for it. On the bright side, you'll know if it's going to, if I screw it in, it's going to go off. It's not going to be like something's going to go off in your pocket, most likely, unless you're really borderline. So let's put the batteries back in and make sure it didn't break it. And there we go. So, see. And I apologize for video quality. This is actually just a phone sitting on top of my desk lamp, so I am not particularly interested in setting up camera equipment like a lot of YouTubers do. If anyone has any problems or didn't see something and couldn't get it clear, couldn't get a freeze frame, just let me know and I'll take some high resolution photos and I can post them or something. So as the paranormal, my two biggest, well, I have 3 complaints. One, obviously this design issue. That's a big one right there. That's just, there's no excuse for it. I wish they would have put something to protect the screen. It's just pain. And also, and I didn't show this, and I'm not going to take it apart again now, but just the way they mounted the DNA board in there, it is going to be a headache when comes time to replace it. And it's, I do not look forward to that. So it's harder to repair than something like the Odin DNA 250C or even the 75C, and I'll probably do some videos on those, show how to tear them down. I think they're, if I was going to recommend any DNA mod, those would be the ones I'd go for. They're going to be the easiest to repair. They were built safely. I'm not a professional. I'm not working for Underwriter Labs. I'm not, the UL listing and everything, but it just seemed like such a silly little design mistake. And I know they did it to make manufacturing easier, but it would have been very easy to just put a little piece of plastic or some type of insulator they could have slapped over there to protect it in case their solder job isn't that good. I mean, they go for the cheapest manufacturing. You're not going to get the best manufacturing. I've seen great Chinese manufacturing. China, if you're willing to pay for it, they can do a fine job. But Lost Vape isn't willing to pay for it. So, that's all. Thank you.